Welcome everybody to the newest episode of Messi and Co. I am here with our co-host Ashley. It will just be us tonight. Austin and Alejandro and the rest of the team are off tonight, so we'll be going ahead and running the episode for you. So how you doing today, Ashley?
I'm good. I know I missed the last post-game show. You guys obviously killed it, but it's been good. Inter Miami keeps winning. It's exciting stuff.
Awesome. Glad you're doing good. Yeah, we missed you last time, but we are here to talk about the game coming up tomorrow and a few other topics. So we'll go ahead and kind of just get started right off the bat. Inter Miami will be playing against Nashville SC tomorrow in the second game, coming back into the actual MLS league after winning the Leagues Cup and winning the semifinal US Open Cup. So they're coming in with 6 wins, 14 losses, 3 draws, 21 points. They were in last place. They moved up a place after winning against New York. They were in 15th in the East. The Messi effect, exactly. Right off the bat, first game in the league again. We're already moving on up, right? So now we're playing against Nashville at the RV Pink Stadium. So we are playing at home. So that's really nice. Kickoff is going to be at 7:30 p.m. So it's a nice early start. We've had these games that have been kind of crazy late night games that have had us on the post game till like what seems like 12:30 or 1 a.m. So it's nice to have a early kickoff. So this is a team that we just beat 10 days ago in the Leagues Cup final. So there is some history. They'll be looking for that rematch. I bet that they're kind of salivating to get back into it with us. And Inter Miami, I mean, since Messi got here, hasn't lost in 9 games, which is just incredible. That's insane. It all started off with him coming to the Leagues Cup, winning 7 games in the Leagues Cup, which ended up in the championship, as we know, US Open Cup semifinal that we recently played, and then that 2-0 win against the Red Bulls this last Saturday. So those are the 9 games that we've kind of had a nice streak without losing after having such a tough season. And then Nashville is coming off a 4-0 loss against Atlanta this past Saturday. So with that, that's kind of just a preview of what's to come. We're going to take a really quick break to get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
If you are ready to transform your backyard into a haven of relaxation and luxury, look no further than our amazing podcast sponsor, L'Acqua Azzurra Pool Services. With over 20 years of industry experience, L'Acqua Azzurra is a name you can trust when it comes to services, equipment repairs, and restoration for all things pools. If you are looking in the South Florida area for your pool to be serviced on a month-to-month basis, L'Acqua Azzurra boasts an impressive 5-star rating on Google reviews, and it's a testament to their dedication to customer satisfaction and top-notch service. Also, if you mention Messi and Co., you will get your first month of pool service absolutely free. So don't wait. For pool service, patio renovation, or more, call them now at 954-793-7206 and get a free quote for any project. Thanks, L'Acqua Azzurra.
All right, so we are back, and we are going to talk on a few topics. I know that, Ashley, you are a fan of probably one of the most, if not the most knowledgeable of us when it comes to business and statistics and the Messi effect off the field. And I know that you shared earlier with us and the team some really interesting statistics on ticket sales and Apple TV subscribers. We know that, Apple TV was a big part of bringing Messi into Inter Miami. And then ticket sales is something that obviously we all expected to kind of ramp up with Messi's arrival. But, I mean, some of the numbers we're seeing are just incredible, right?
Yeah. So, Gian, if I were to tell you that Lionel Messi has only been playing for Inter Miami in the United States for 39 days, what would you say?
It seems a lot longer than that.
It seems a lot longer. And I mean, obviously, we've seen on the field the incredible things that Lionel Messi has done, as well as Busquets, as well as Jordi Alba, Tomas Avilas, Facundo Farias, all of our new additions, Diego Gomez. And so that's on the field. But off the field, here's where we are so far. 39 days in. Lionel Messi has reportedly brought in over $265 million in ticket sales. $265 million in 39 days. That's amazing. Apple TV has gained over 300,000 new subscribers with a profit of almost $30 million. This is all in the last 39 days. Obviously, we know that it was a lucrative deal, right, that Messi signed in order to come here. It wasn't just the money he was getting in a regular contract. It's also going to be, how is he going to help grow the league? What's he going to get from Apple, from Adidas, etc.? These were all woven in. And, some people were like, oh, I don't know if that's fair, this, that, and the other. It's fair, because look at what take my word from it. Even if I wasn't an Inter Miami fan, it is fair. The amount of money, views, followers, and interest this man has brought to the sport in the United States in 39 days is unfathomable. And I mean, it's just the beginning. And so, yeah, like those kind of statistics, I just think they're amazing, because we know what he brings on the field, and we know what he kind of brings off the field, but seeing the microcosm of it, to see what it's turned into in the United States, where soccer is not the number one sport. It's not, some would say it's not even top three, It is really remarkable. I think also, obviously, we're moving into football season. We're going to see how his effect continues. Obviously we're going to have the off season and things like that. But so far, if we're giving grades in terms of on and off the field, he has like 150% out of 100, like A++++. Everything we want to happen, it's happening, and it's happening so smoothly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that they definitely got their money's worth from the
they've
deal.
already made all the money. Like, they've made all the money that they can want. The teams have made the money. The infrastructure. Inter Miami has said that their projected revenue for the year is 3 times what was initially projected already. And so, yeah, I mean, it's doing everything you want. And then, like, with Apple TV, with the ticket sales, especially when they're at the away stadiums like a Red Bull Arena, etc., it helps the whole league. It improves the infrastructure of the whole league. A lot for Apple TV especially, and with Adidas, with Fanatics, all these different platforms, with betting, I'm sure, all of these things feed in to the league, and then it kind of gets disseminated to all the teams in different ways. But a rising tide raises all ships, and so it's definitely working.
Yeah, and I think that that's also very much helpful, just like in seeing all these brands coming in and trying to work with Messi and work with the team. And now we've got a new stadium. We've got, I was reading that we've got a ton of different sponsors that are now trying to get their, whether it's naming rights or ads within the new stadium.
More sponsors.
Yeah, we're getting more sponsors. It's like, it's a trickle down effect. It really is. It's insane. Like, and then think about, like, from a team perspective too, just having that extra money to be able to go out and be able to spend on players moving forward as we try to bring in more talent and build on this foundation that we've started with Messi, with Busquets, with Alba, with the young U22 players. I mean, the money that comes in is just going to be dispersed in so many different, I think, channels that are going to elevate this team. And I think it's also an example for the league as well. Other teams that are seeing this, like maybe there's been other teams that have been afraid to maybe spend on big names because, like, they don't know if the ROI is going to be there, right? And we've got to be sincere here. This is a business. You do want your team, I think, as an owner, and as investors, you want your team to be competitive and win from the sporting side, but on the back of your mind, you're always thinking about the numbers as well. So now that you see this, you're like, this, I think that Inter Miami has set the example for other teams and say, hey, if you do it right, if you get the right players, you invest correctly, not only are you going to have a competitive team, but you're also going to reap the rewards financially. So I definitely think that Inter Miami has done a good job of kind of showing how to do that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and you're seeing it already. I mean, I think we're going to do a separate episode specifically about this, but Miami Freedom Park has broken ground. They're getting a brand new stadium and facility. New York FC, they got the land, right, to build their new stadium. I think that now the pressure is going to be on other teams, especially teams that use football stadiums, to start to really invest in the atmosphere and the infrastructure of your own team so that you get those players. I mean, Messi had said his comment about the turf, and I believe him 100%. However, if you said, if I was a betting man and I said, okay, well, if it's this on the line or whatever, are they going to risk Messi and put him in Charlotte on the turf or something like that? Maybe not. Atlanta, maybe not. I mean, maybe they will, but is it worth it? Is it worth the risk of not having the best players in the world want to play at your stadium for your fans? I don't think so. So I think it's all part of the process. And you're seeing that teams are now almost being forced to improve their infrastructure so that they can host and bring in new talent. Because while, yeah, you're not going to get a Messi or a Ronaldo, there's plenty. You can get an Antoine Griezmann in 2 to 4 years, maybe. There's a ton of really great players. Luis Suarez. I mean, there's a lot of great players who are still in the top, let's say 20 to 50 world players that they can come here. They can see the value that Messi has brought. They can see the value of playing in the United States, especially with the fact that we're hosting all of these tournaments over the next 4 years. And I think it's gonna continue to move the needle.
Yeah, I would agree with you, especially in that great point that you made about bringing in other players. And I think that you have players that, not only the ones that maybe have kind of are coming to the end of their journey in Europe, but you've got great players that are going to Brazil, going to Argentina, that are going there for the competition, but also because of the pay, and people are willing to invest in those countries. Hey, maybe we start getting some of those players as well, like we've seen with again with the U22 players, with Facundo Farias, with Gomez, with Aviles. I think that this is a good springboard for us to maybe start, us and hopefully the MLS as well, to start attracting those young guys from South America to start playing here, because hey, we're willing to spend more to bring them in. And I know that, us as an MLS league, kind of, we try to see who to compare ourselves to, who we're trying to get. We compare ourselves to Liga MX, and sometimes we get compared to like Europe. And I think that that's something that fans need to realize as well. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to get to Europe. That's also a lot of history behind that league. But
it's also the main sport there. It's where all the money, and it's where every single kid goes starting at age 4. It's different.
Yeah, no, and even in South America, like the guys that are in South America, the young kids that are coming up in Boca, in Argentina, in Flamengo, Palmeiras in Brazil, and all these clubs, their ultimate goal is to go to Europe. And I don't think that's going to change. But what we should have, I think, our mindset in the MLS is, let's become the avenue to get to Europe, right? Like kind
or
of
the avenue of leaving Europe, 100%.
Exactly. So I just, based off of those numbers that you've given us and that we've talked about here, I think that we're headed in the right direction. And hopefully the rest of the teams kind of look at Miami as, I think, the see him as the correct way to do this. So I think it's exciting for Inter Miami and really the league as a whole. We have a good future coming up. So let's talk about the trophy presentation. That's something really exciting for us. We just won the League's Cup final against Nashville. It just so happens to be the team we're playing tomorrow and the team that's going to see us during our trophy presentation, which is really interesting.
Part of the game, right?
Yeah. So I think it's really cool. It's the first official trophy for Inter Miami since Beckham established the team back in 2020. So that's really cool to see. I think such success in such a short period of time. We've got the League's Cup trophy presentation. We've secured a spot in the 2024 CONCACAF Champions Cup. We are now in the final for the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup final. So just a bunch of really cool things. And what a way to, I think, the fan, we've been on the road for a long time now. I mean, it's well, actually, in days, it's not so long, but just the amount of games in between has made it seem so long, because this is our first game home. Yeah, the last 4. This is our first game home since August 11th, where I believe we played the quarterfinal against the League's Cup quarterfinal against Charlotte. So if you think about it, August 11th was the last time we were at home. That's 18 days.
But it's like those Messi years, like it's like pets, right? So it's really been like 52 weeks.
Oh, that is a great Messi years. We have to coin that one.
Yeah, no, like we're
18 days in Messi years is like
it's so true. But yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be super, super exciting. Like we've, a theme we've said multiple times on this podcast. It's just Inter Miami fans. It's really been a journey, and we've had to, go through a lot of losses, a lot of figuring out this team's identity, figuring out the stars, the designated players, the environment, the culture, the on the field type of system that we want to run. And it's taken a while. It's had a lot of ups and downs, mainly downs, right? And so this is going to be a really big moment, obviously for the players, for the organization, for the staff, for the physiotherapists, for the, the sanitation crew, everyone who's put in a lot of time and energy into this team over the last 3 years, obviously on the field, but years and years before to get to this moment. And so for the home fans to be able to enjoy it, La Familia that has gone through, stuck by the team for a lot, I think it's going to be really wonderful. And it's going to really sort of show, tangibly, look at what Messi has brought, look at what this team is doing. Everyone is playing at a really high level, and it's really exciting to watch. And we're both going to be there, which is really exciting. And it's great. It's going to be great for the content, great for the fans, great for everybody.
Yeah, and to what you said, I think it's something that the fans have definitely earned. They've stuck around through some really tough times, and I would say quite a different picture going into our first home game in the league from when we first embarked on this Messi journey. Because when we first started in this Messi journey in the Leagues Cup, we hadn't won games. I think it was a 6-game winless streak that we had going right before Messi arrived.
Mm-hmm.
We were dealing with countless injuries. We had gone through
rebuilds.
We were on our through rebuilds, through different coaches. And I think that before Messi arrived, or we got news that Messi was going to arrive, there wasn't much to look forward to. It was a really tough time in the club. I think the only thing that we were looking forward to at that time was the US Open Cup semifinal. And then other than that, I think it was just for the end of the season to come so that we can start fresh, because we had gone through so much. So it's so nice to see our first game back at home in a long time. And it's going to be a moment where we're able to lift the cup in front of our fans, our first cup ever. And I think the environment's going to be insane. Like I haven't gotten my ticket yet. I'm going 100%. I'm going to get my ticket, but I can't wait. Like, I'm wondering like what the environment's going to be like, because you were there for that Cruz Azul game, right?
Yeah,
and that was an insane environment when Messi first stepped on the pitch.
It was insane.
It was, man, like from the moment I remember being there and just the anticipation of Messi touching the pitch for the first time. It's like you were hearing Messi chants. You were the La Familia, the supporters group were just partying, and they were singing their songs. And like, I wonder if that's gonna. I don't know if we can get to that moment, but I feel like this might kind of, get there in regards to like when they lift that trophy. That's going to be insane. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the environment at every game so far, home or away, has been electrifying, and I think that's going to continue tomorrow as well. I mean, it's weather pending, because it's South Florida and it's summer, which means it's hurricane season, and it means we have very temperamental weather. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we have a clear night and we have a good atmosphere for the game. But yeah, I mean, and I think that's kind of the beauty of sports, right? Like, sometimes we forget that for every team, even if you have the best players, the best whatever, sports are live and they're unpredictable. And there's highs, there's lows, there's triumph, there's heartbreak. That's part of sports. And that's, right now we're going through the triumph, but we've gone through our share of heartbreak. And so is Messi, so is all the players that are on the pitch with him. Everyone's gone through it in different parts. And so seeing it, and the story of how this club has gone from the bottom to the top in such a short time, I think is the beauty of sports. And I think that's why you see, like, some people are like, oh yeah, it's like a super team, or this, that, and the other, they're buying it. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's how most fans feel, to be completely honest with you. I think people appreciate the growth and the story. And tomorrow, I'd say the first chapter is going to come to a really beautiful close of Messi, which is the Leagues Cup, and debuting for Inter Miami in this first cup, and then us winning it and just being able to lift the trophy in front of the home fans. It's going to be chapter 1 of what I hope is going to be a really, really beautiful, long, fruitful book in the history of Inter Miami.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a beautiful moment, and I would say most around the MLS, obviously the Inter Miami fans and fans of the game in general. It's just going to be a beautiful moment to see Messi lift that cup, and I think they'll enjoy it. Obviously, we'll have the haters. I think that comes with every sport, and comes with success as well. You know, we've got people saying that, you know, obviously this is MLS. That's why Messi is so. So good, and he's doing these amazing things. And I would just to say, I mean, did you watch Messi in Barca? He was doing that against the best teams in Europe. Did you see him at PSG? You know, so I think that the hate will come. That means you're doing something good. So,
right.
but nonetheless, it's just going to be a great time tomorrow, and I'm really excited for that. But so. Obviously that presentation is going to be against Nashville. So Nashville is the team that we just so happen to beat for the cup. So I mean, talk about, I don't know, coincidence, timing. They talk about scripted. Like, this is gonna be So this is gonna be an interesting match, and it's an interesting match because if you guys, or if anybody watched, or those of you that watched that game was a really, really tough game for us, right? And this game, other than what comes behind it with the history with Nashville, the recent history with it, it's a really important game because we're in the middle of a playoff push, right? We're in the middle of a playoff push. We're in 14th place. I mentioned earlier that we jumped Toronto with that win on Saturday. What's interesting, I think,
skyrocketing up the table.
Skyrocketing, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got, I think, 11 more games, including tomorrow, 11 more matches in the league, including tomorrow. So we have to skyrocket. I don't know if there's any other way about it, but I think that what's interesting through this playoff is we were able to jump a position on Saturday. But this one, we can't necessarily jump a position because New York City, who is directly in front of us, is I believe have 26 points. So even with a win, we'd still be behind them by about 2 points.
Right.
Now,
but it's when you're playing Eastern Conference team, it's like they say, it's your 6 points because it's your 3 points, and you're also getting another 3 points off of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the game is going to be very intense, and I think Nashville, for I think these 2 reasons, are going to be intense and are going to be really pushing. Number one, it was a really, they want their redemption. It was a really close game. I think they played as close to a perfect game as they can against Messi and against, the game plan of what they'd seen from Inter Miami in the first 6 or 7 games of the cup. But Messi had a moment of brilliance. Drake Callender then had his moments of brilliance. And, that's how the tables turned for us on that occasion. We won. So that's number one. They're going to want to, they're going to have the trophy presentation. They're going to want to avenge that particular thing. And then number 2, they just lost 4-0 to Atlanta over the weekend. And so I think they're also going to be trying to shake off the cobwebs of that performance and try and, step up their game and take it to Inter Miami at their home stadium. So it's going to be a lot of intensity in the game. But I don't think it's anything that we can't handle. I think that's the team is learning to grow and thrive in the beauty of intensity, which is what greatness brings. And, obviously a lot of our key players were able to get a rest on Saturday for at least the first half, some the full game, some up to, the 60, 65 minute mark. And the idea now is that we get to, Messi and Busquets, barring any changes, are going to start, I imagine, with Jordi Alba, unless, again, any big circumstantial changes. I think you're going to continue to see Aviles. I think you're going to still see Facundo Farias in the starting lineup. Not 100% sure, but yeah. And I mean, with the rest of the team, everyone is starting to have to step up to keep their spot in that starting 11 and that A team. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really good battle.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a really tough battle. I mean, it was in the Leagues Cup
Really
final was
tough,
very
yeah.
tough. It could have gone either way in reality. I know Messi had
Don't
the
we
goal.
know it?
Yeah, no, that was scary. Messi had the goal at minute 23. So I think it's important to kind of keep that going where we're typically, if we can get that first goal, I think it settles us. So if we can kind of mirror that, then Fafa scored what made us or our defense look like a ping pong machine because,
Yeah.
or a pinball machine, because it was a lucky header that bounced off. I think it was Kademaski that hit Calendar and ultimately ended up going in. So I mean, other than the Messi goal and then that bit of luck on that side for Fafa, it was just very tight knit game. Not a lot was going on. But I'm trying to think as we remember that game, and because that game's going to kind of help us understand what needs to go on during tomorrow's game. Some of the key points to take away from that, and I think that one of the things I remember from that game is that Nashville pressed really high up on Inter Miami, at times with 7 to 8 players, that made it really difficult for Inter Miami to play their game. They like to play out of the back, build the game up, short passes here and there. And Nashville just wasn't allowing them to do that. They were pressuring them, making them make errors in their passes. And what I think that needs to change is Inter Miami wasn't doing the same thing to them that entire game. They weren't pressing. They were pressing sometimes, but at most of the
Right.
times they were allowing Nashville to bring up the ball, touch, do whatever they wanted.
Are getting time to turn
Yeah,
and to push, and which you can't allow.
exactly. And what they did, what Nashville did is they actually put numbers in attack. So they had, I believe it was Mukhtar, they had Fafa, they had Surridge, all right on our defensive line, waiting for an over the top ball. And quite a few times, I mean, one was called an offside, but quite a few times they had some good opportunities because they just had so much time when their center
Right.
backs are actually really good at putting those passes over our defense. So I think that that's something that we need to make sure that we do moving forward, is to make sure that we press them as much as they press us. And because they're pressing us so much, it's being quicker on getting out of our side of the field and making those passes a lot sooner. Because when you have a team that allows you to maintain possession, yeah, it's easier to build and touch here and there, but you can't afford that when you've got 7, 8 players from the opposite team on your side of the field closing all of the passing lanes. So I think that that's going to be one of the things that we need to, I think, work on for this one, is making those quicker passes. Something I noticed, and I want to get your kind of opinion on this, because we've kind of talked about the midfield in past podcasts. Something for Nashville was Arroyo, and other times it'd be Busquets in the middle, Arroyo on the right side, and then we'd have Benjamin Kromashki like on the left midfield, and he'd typically go up and he'd be able to do some play make and kind of associate himself with Robert Taylor and Alba on the left. I don't know if you remember this, but in the Nashville game, he was playing more like on the right side.
Right. Yeah.
And he wasn't, it felt like he wasn't himself. He wasn't getting the same opportunities. He even ended up getting subbed out for Diego Gomez. He didn't look comfortable that match. I mean, would you like to see him back on on the left-hand side and more in that position? Or how did you feel about him being more like on the right wing? It was kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think that, some things that we have to remember with the last Inter Miami versus Nashville game was that we were emotionally and physically exhausted, the team.
Yeah.
I'm saying we like I played the team, which I think it led to tired legs, and it was us not pressing as much, trying to take it. I think there was also nerves because it was a final. We were in hostile environment. I mean, there's a lot of, mitigating factors. I think that, versus the press, and while they didn't do it as much as I think we expected versus against the Red Bulls, or the Red Bulls to Miami, they did start to press, especially in the second half, started to do the high press that we're used to. And Miami was figuring out a way to play out the back and get comfortable with passes. So I'm hoping, all those things said, that we're going to see a more confident, stronger side tomorrow. And then in terms of, I think Kremaski is totally earning, I think he's earned his spot in the front. But I think Gomez also, he had a really good showing, and he also, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of, I still like the 4-3-3. I think Tata.
We need to play a 4-3-3, in my opinion.
I know,
agree with
but
you.
we may. I mean, I think now because I imagine it's going to be DeAndre Yedlin and Jordi Alba, and then I would like it to be Miller and Tomas Aviles. We'll see. That's what I would like. We'll see, but you may also get Kristoff, which would make it a back five.
But Kristoff played great. Kristoff played great in that game against Nashville. He played great. He was key in a lot, in a ton of different plays. So I want Aviles. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised though if Kristoff, based off what he
gets
did,
it back.
Yeah.
I don't know though, but I mean, so I really don't know. And then in terms of the midfield, obviously Busquets is going to be back into the lineup. I would like to see maybe a situation where you have Gomez on the right and Kremaski on the left, because I think Kremaski I think he has the intelligence to be able to go back and forth, and to be able to give that defensive role when needed. And Gomez could be a little bit more forward, but I don't know if that's a little bit too much of a risk from Tata Martino's, view. So I don't know. It's not a great answer, because I should give you an answer, but it's
but I agree with you,
especially because of the rotations on Saturday. You just really don't know what he's going to do, because the rotations, it was obvious going with the back five, or however they ended up saying it was a back five in the end.
Yeah, it was.
Doing that because you didn't have your stars playing, you needed to be able to deal with that. Now, though, when you do have your team at quote unquote full strength, what does that look like? What does that look like in terms of a formation, in terms of aggressive, in terms of, obviously Tata Martino wants to play out and back, right? And we want to do crisp passes. We want to see triangles. We want to see creativity in the final third. How that's going to look, I think this game though will be a good indication of what we'll see moving forward, because you had when you were in a final, you were in a tournament where it was single elimination at a certain point, so it was a need for survival. Now you need to be a lot more strategic and tactical, thinking about the next 11 games, right, and seeing how can you get a result each night, but continue to progress. So yeah,
and I think I love that you said to see Kremaski and Gomez at the same time, because I would love to see that. And that only works because of the point that you made, that Kremaski, and I agree, is intelligent enough to know when he has to go back, because we've seen, and I don't know if this will change with Gomez. Again, he's still adapting to the team and finding his spot, and he's been progressing well. But Gomez, I think it plays so forward, so it's the mentality is like attack, which is awesome, but sometimes lacks in that defensive area. So that's why I think that if it is with Benja, I think that he's smart enough to get back when Gomez goes forward. So I think that would work. And when Kremaski got subbed in, when Gomez came in for Kremaski, we weren't generating much at that moment. I think it was like the 70 something minute, but as soon as Gomez came in, the attack ramped up, and he was putting pressure on their back line. They weren't having the ease like they were before him entering the game to be able to come out touching, and no, he came in full energy. I'm pressing. I'm gonna try to get some shots off, some passes off. So I really like that, and I think that that's gonna be really neat if that does happen. Again, I'm just like you. I'm doubtful that would happen. The only other way that maybe that would work is if you still have Kremaski and Arroyo in the midfield, and then somehow Taylor is an actual forward or winger or something like that. I don't know how that would work, but it was something.
But also, maybe part of the tactics of Tata is that maybe he doesn't want to have both of them on at the same time, because he wants to be able to do that double punch, right? Like sometimes you need it where it's just a matter of who gets the first 60, who gets the last 30, but you both are putting in 100% effort. And I don't think it's a knock on Gomez to say that Kremaski is has the intelligence to do it. It's more so that I think Kremaski is so far beyond his years mentally, in terms of like, he's 18 years old and he has the intelligence and the wherewithal, and he's way ahead of his time. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would like to see it. I could still though understand if we don't, right? Like, I can
Yeah, and
understand
it's
from a tactical
intelligence.
standpoint.
It's
Yeah,
intelligence, but it's also, and again, not to knock on Gomez, because as if he didn't have the intelligence, but I think it's intelligence and the fact that he's played in that
right.
system. So Gomez is a smart player as well. It's just the adaptation
Adaptation, totally.
part of trying to figure
In
out
the league in
exactly what he
general.
needs to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Another thing I think that I'm wondering is on the left wing, are we gonna see Robert Taylor or are we gonna see Facundo
Yes.
Farias? Because that's tough. Like I
It's
can't
really
tell
tough.
you, because it hurts me because I know Facundo Farias is good. So I want to see Facundo Farias start, but it hurts
But
me to
Robert Taylor
take
hasn't
Robert
lost
Taylor.
it, right? Like,
Yeah.
he didn't really rightfully lose his spot. I think where he's been playing in the last few games hasn't necessarily been advantageous to his quality and his ability to score and to create chances. But that's part of the game. You know, you bring in this U22 designated player, you play someone who, unless there's crazy circumstances, within the next 36 to 48 months will be playing in Europe in the top
Yeah, of course.
league. And so it's just a matter of it's a battle of attrition. Like, we have 11 more games where we really have no room for error. And I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit, about, you know, our next 5 games and what they look like and what, you know, Inter Miami needs to sustain and to do in order to keep with this playoff push. But you need perfection, and there's going to be tired legs. There's going to be people who are mentally tired too. And so maybe we see in the beginning some players don't get the start that maybe had it before, or the players who had it before get the start as opposed to the young ones. But there's 11 more games, and there's a lot of playing time for people to be able to come in and make their mark and get their moments. So
I
that's
think
part of
that's
having
what's
a
good
deep
about our
roster,
team.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
That's what's
That's the
good about our
benefit.
team. We have a lot of players that are interchangeable.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't miss a beat with Robert Taylor or Facundo Farias, whoever starts or sits. And then, as you said previously, you've got that extra punch at the end. You're basically bringing in a player that's equivalent, or depending on who you think is better, could be a bit better on fresh legs. You can do that
Yeah.
basically at a lot of different positions on our
Totally.
team. So
And I mean,
that's important.
this is an extreme example, but like Manchester City.
Mhm.
Do you, like, for example, this past weekend during the Prem League, they didn't have De Bruyne, or they don't have Gundogan, they didn't have Phil Foden playing in the beginning, they didn't have, you know, obviously over the last few years, they've lost Raheem Sterling, they've lost Riyad Mahrez, they've lost Gabriel Jesus. Do you ever for a second think they're not going to win or score?
No, not
Never.
at all. They're so deep.
Exactly. They are so deep, and like, they always have players ready to fill roles and create new things. And while obviously that's an extreme example, that's what we're trying to build at Inter Miami. And I think that's what Tata is trying to build, at least for the moment, right? Is that you want to be able to continuously plug and play different players of different levels of quality into 11 that are going to be able to put their best foot forward and continuously attack and, you know, win games and see out games. And so, you know, it's I think part of what we're going to continue to learn and see.
Yeah, you need players to buy into that as well, because there's some players that could be of the mentality that that become disgruntled if they don't get their starting position. And through different interviews that we've seen throughout the week, different players, they've mentioned that they actually are for this type of
They're bought in.
challenge. They're about this challenge. I want to win my spot. We all want to win our spot. We're having fun doing it, and we love the opportunity to challenge each other for the starting spot. There's no disgruntled players. There's no animosity amongst each other. They have great friendships and great relationships, professional relationships. So I think that that's something good as well. It's just the fact that, again, you have so many interchangeable players, and everybody's about that and has bought into that system and that way of thinking. The last one that I'm thinking of, and I want to get your opinion on this too, is who are we going to see up front? Are we going to see Joseph or are we going to see Campana? Because I like what I've seen from Campana as of late. I'm not going to even pretend there's no bias here because I'm Ecuadorian, so I'm not even going to pretend that. But one of the things that we have to take into consideration with Nashville is Nashville's really good at set pieces. Really good at set pieces.
Right.
We, on the other hand,
Are
are
not.
really bad defending
Yeah.
the set piece. And Campana is good. He's tall and he's good.
Strong. Yep.
Strong. So for those set pieces, he's going to be very, very valuable, I think, for us defending those because they had quite a few set pieces, whether corners or free kicks, in our previous game against them. So I think that that's going to be important. So I guess from the defensive standpoint, I think that's important, but also from the offensive standpoint, I think that we've talked about this many times. Joseph and Campana's game are completely different games. Joseph is more involved in the buildup of the play. Campana is going to be a reference point for you up top. Get him the ball, and he'll figure out a way to make something happen. If he doesn't score, he's going to come up with a dangerous play. And I think that when I look at last game against Nashville, what I said at the beginning, they had a lot of time building up from the back of their side of the field. There wasn't a lot of pressure, and we didn't have somebody right standing in line with the defense, making them think that there might be a ball over the top or a through ball. So they had all the time in the world to pay attention to Messi, to pay attention to Taylor. We need someone to distract in the middle and be a scoring, be a danger, a scoring danger for them. I think it's Campana. I hope it is. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm neither Ecuadorian nor Venezuelan, so I will be very, honest. I've been saying this too for weeks. I think Campana deserves to start, and he deserves his chance to start, and to be able to build. I also can understand that Joseph is obviously a better finisher and a little bit more finessed in the final third, right? Like we see moments where sometimes at the last second, Campana just doesn't have that final touch, whether it's the shot, whether it's the pass, whatever it is. But at the same time, now though, we have other forward-thinking players. We have Messi, whether it's Farias or it's Robert Taylor. And like I said, I imagine Gomez. You have these players playing forward where they don't, where they can help create that final third, and you don't need like Joseph running back to get involved. And that would play more to the strength of Campana. So again, I'm going to give a great answer as an analyst, which is I don't know. I would like to see Campana. I don't know if maybe, the idea was New York was Campana. Maybe they're going to go back and forth, like I said. And what we're going to continue to say over the next 11 games is this is a battle of attrition. This is a battle of who has the best 11 on the field for the whole 90 minutes, not just the first 45, who has it on the whole 90 minutes. And so I think you're going to see a lot of back and forth between the two of them. Sometimes towards the end of the game, you're going to see both. So I'd like Campana to get the start tomorrow. We shall see. If not, if it continues to go back and forth, similarly to Gomez and Kramaski, I understand. We're still only 6 weeks into this new team. There's still a lot of things to figure out.
Yeah, I think that was a good answer without giving a definitive answer.
I was about to say that's about as good of an answer as you're going to get.
But yeah, so I think to sum up, it's anybody can start. We don't know anything. We don't know anything, and I think that Tata's got some.
That's why he's the coach and we're not.
He's the coach, we're not, and he's got problems that are good in a way because he's got options, whereas other coaches maybe just play because they don't have somebody else on the bench. He's got a ton of good players, so I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow against Nashville. I think that it will be a tough game, just like the previous game. I think it'll be a very tight game. I don't know if it'll. We'll talk. Maybe we'll give our predictions at the end of the podcast. But I think that they're definitely going to come. It'll be tough, but this time I think they're coming with more on their back, trying to maybe get that loss from that that sour taste of that loss against us. So maybe they've got a bit more motivation. But hey, we've got motivation too because
It'll
we
make
want
it
to.
fun though, right?
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think also what we'll see tomorrow, it's going to answer more questions from an MLS standpoint of what teams do we think Tata is going to put out, what formations is he going to favor? Because like I said before, it's all been single elimination games where it's about surviving and winning. It's not about longevity or necessarily always tactics. It's about how can we win this game at that moment. But now, with everyone having their rest and rotation, I think we're going to now start to see a little bit more of a clear picture of the consistent team.
Yeah, and we'll see if we have any new formations. We've seen the 5-2-3 and the 4-3-3, so we'll see if there's anything up Tata's sleeve with that. So, okay, so with that, that's an important game tomorrow, but we've also got some more games coming up after that, leading up to part of our playoff push. So let's kind of go through some. We won't go through all of them because there's obviously a lot of games, but let's go maybe through the next 3 to 4 games and see what's ahead for us and what we think can happen. So obviously we've got the Nashville game tomorrow. We're playing at home. We're playing coming off of a great presentation for the Leagues Cup in front of our fans for the first time in a long time. I think we get the win there. What do you think?
We need to win. I think we need to win, and I think that it will help the team continue to grow. I think it's 100% points. I think if we only got 1 point, we'd probably be a little bit disappointed. I'd like to see the win. But really quickly, before we get to even the next game, we're going to have one more ad from one of our great sponsors.
Great.
Okay, so yeah, I'd like us to see the win against Nashville. I think these next 4 to 5 fixtures are going to be incredibly important to seeing how this team finishes out the year, the playoff push, the intensity, right? I mean, I think it's going to go down to the wire regardless, but these next 5 games, you're seeing a real range of the best and the not so best of the league right now. And so it's about maintaining our composure and our consistency to see how we finish. So yeah, Nashville, 3 points I hope we get. Sunday, incredibly interesting game against LAFC in Los Angeles, 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. It is a game where I literally, if you said $100,000 a gun to your head, what's going to happen? I couldn't tell you. It is going to be very difficult. If we get a point, I think I'd be pretty happy with that.
I'd be happy too. I think their second team right now in the Western Conference are a really good team. They've got 11 wins, 40 points, so they're doing very well. And it's going to be, I believe, a tough crowd in LA. I mean, a short distance or time rather from just all of these. There's no time to rest, really. I mean, for us,
and it's far. It's obviously the other side of the country.
Yeah, it's far, so I think it's going to be really tough. And I'm wondering who's going to play. Yeah, who's going to play?
Messi will start. I'd be shocked if he doesn't start because you're about to see if you think you're seeing famous people at the games in Miami, just wait until you see how many celebrities are at this game on Sunday.
We know LeBron's going to be there for sure. LeBron was here for his first game. It's LA, so yeah, definitely you've got
Kardashians.
It's going to be star-studded for sure. So it's going to be. What is it? I feel like it's going to be like a final without being a final. At least like the atmosphere from an atmosphere perspective. Yeah.
I think so too. I think that, LAFC over the last few years has become kind of like the gold standard in the MLS, like how LA Galaxy was for many years before them, New York Red Bulls was for many years before. And they're still the team to beat, right? They were the champions last year. They have consistent stars and talent. You have Carlos Vela, who year in and year out, minus, injuries or this and the other, is a consistent star who can make plays. You have strong defenders. You have a great fan base and atmosphere. Like I said, I think that like we've seen at the other games, while it is going to be majority fans of LAFC, there's going to be a portion of people who just are there to see Messi, and that helps a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I think a point would be great. If we get all 3 points, phenomenal. If we lose, obviously it's not ideal, but there's a few games that you have to, you're not, this isn't like, I don't know, Brazil with Pele or something. There's
Yeah.
there's
No,
gonna be
there's definitely
some,
I mean, while it's not much, we do have some wiggle room. I think that we can maybe drop 2. You don't want to go drop 3, but I think you still have a chance because you wanted
if there
initially
is a
to
game to
win.
drop
Yeah.
3, I would understand it being this one. But this is the
Yeah.
new Inter Miami, so hopefully
Yeah.
we continue to strive for perfection,
Yeah.
and that's what we get. The next week, though, is when things are actually really interesting. So
Very,
the
yeah.
following Saturday, we're back at home and we're hosting Sporting Kansas City, who on paper and over the last few seasons have not been great. They're towards the bottom of the West right now. And we should, for all intents and purposes, if this was our normal team, should be an easy 3-point victory. However, this is in the middle of the international window where you have World Cup qualifying games happening, and Lionel Messi, as far as I'm concerned, will not be there, and he will
Yeah,
not be
he will.
playing. Neither will, I believe, Farias, Campana, Joseph Martinez. I imagine Kramaski. We just don't know for who.
Hopefully,
And,
hopefully it stinks for us, but we want
right,
our players
calendar.
obviously. But hopefully, Calendar will be there. You said Farias, hopefully
Yedlin.
Campana, Yedlin.
Luckily, though, we will have Busquets and Alba playing. As
Yeah,
far as I'm
Alba
concerned.
retired actually,
Today.
officially retired today
Yeah.
from the Spanish team, national team. So
God bless him. I don't blame
yeah,
him, honestly.
no, yeah. So at least we'll have 2 vets surrounded by whatever it is we have left of a team.
Right. So it'll be interesting. It'll be I think a great exercise in coaching for Tata Martina to see who to play. But yeah, that one's a wild card. I'd like us to be able to get 3 points. What we've been talking about is depth, right? And
Yeah.
that's what makes champions. Hopefully we get 3 points.
At
If
least it's
not
at home
one,
too, which is
it's at
good for us.
home. It's at home. It'll be after 6 days of rest for whoever's still, at the team, all 6 players left. But that'll be interesting. And then that puts us a week later, Saturday, September 16th, away at Atlanta United, which it's going to also be incredibly interesting. The good news is the common theme is that all these games are going to be very interesting and intense.
That's true.
Unless there's a huge string of losses or, something like that, or injuries. Each game is going to have its own interesting twist that is going to make it really enjoyable to watch and to root for. And so, yeah, against Atlanta, it's an away game. It's on turf. So we'll see if that factors into anything. The players will just be getting back from the international break. Hopefully no injuries, but you have people traveling far. I mean, Argentina, obviously it's far. All these countries, Brazil, they're far. We have a couple going to Europe. We have Christoph going to Ukraine. It's, there's some traveling happening. And so it'll be interesting to see what that lineup looks like. And it's against an Atlanta team that was struggling previously, obviously just got a big win against Nashville. I don't know if in the next 2 days there's going to be something that happens with Thiago Almada. That would obviously be a big, difference maker. But it's an away game against a team that is above us in the Eastern Conference right now, and they are in the playoff picture. And so it is going to be a very, very difficult match.
And we did beat them already 4-0. So I think that, all things considered, if we're able to put together a complete or semi-complete team with players returning from the international fixtures, then hopefully I think that we can. I don't know. Again, just depending on what team, if it'll be 4-0 or that big of a difference. But I personally think that it's definitely a winnable game for us.
Yeah. No, I mean, those are the games where you have to win to make the playoffs, and you have to separate yourselves from the pack. It's going to be difficult. Nothing is easy in professional sports, and so neither will that. And then the last game we'll talk about is a home game against Toronto FC, who are, as we spoke earlier, below us now in the Eastern Conference standings, who have had a very off year. their star players are not happy nor playing at the level expected of them. They've obviously had coaching changes, a lot of different factors, and it's going to be a home game. So it should be 3 points. And anything else, I think, would be disappointing and, telling. So hopefully that'll give us 3 points. And that's, that's 5 fixtures we just said, where I think if we had any less than 12 to 13 points, it would be, it'd be a really difficult hill to climb. I think we need to be getting at least 12 points out of those 5.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, if we can just do this quickly, I guess, just so to sum that part up against Nashville, I think that, would you agree? I say we win against Nashville. Let's say LAFC. Let's just say it's a loss. Let's just say it's a loss.
Just right.
Yeah. And then Sporting KC, I think we can win that one, especially being at home.
6.
That's 6. Atlanta United, I think we win. That's 9. And then against Toronto, that's
12.
So I think we can get 12, which would be, if that so happens, that would be amazing for us, and that might move us up a couple of positions depending on whatever happens. Because let me see who's.
And let's say we don't lose against LAFC, maybe one instead of 1 loss, it's 2 ties, right, or something like that. If we can get somewhere within the 12-point region, I think that's what we need to say, and that's asking a lot. That's getting 12 out of a possible 15 points, but we have to. That's where this team is. That's kind of where, the season has led us. We have, like we said, we have a couple of challenges coming our way. We have the fact that we're going to LAFC, the other side of the country, against a good team. We have the international break. Then we have people returning from the international break. So there's a lot of room of difficulty, but that could be said for all the other teams too, right? So it's just about finding that way to secure points.
Yeah, and I think we're trying to be optimistic as well and realistic at the same time. And realistically, I do think that these are teams that we can beat. Obviously, one is last in the league, one we've beat 4-0, another team we beat in a final. So it's not out of the question that we can actually beat these teams. And then if we end up with 12 to 13 points, we've got 21. Let's say we get 12. Let's just say we get 12. We'd be at 33 points. Right now, you've got Chicago with 32, DC United with 30, New York Red Bulls with 29, Charlotte with 29, and New York with 26. So depending on what those teams do over the next 4 to 5 matches, let's say maybe 2 or 3 of them, have a bad stretch, we could potentially jump up 2 to 3 positions and still have
6 more
games. Yeah, I think it's 6.
6 more games. Yeah,
6 more games left
against what, quote unquote, easier competition. Not all of them, but some of them easier competition where you would expect us to get it. I would say of these next 5 games, the ones that I would really pay attention to, it's LAFC and it's Atlanta. I think those are going to be very tricky games. Like I said, I hope we come out on top. I hope we can get close to that 12 points over the next 15 possible. But we're going to have to wait and see. Any final thoughts, Gian, before we close it out?
Final thoughts. I think that we've done a really good job of covering what we think the game is going to look like tomorrow. I think
we've also said a whole lot of nothing, but
whole lot of nothing. Yeah, I mean, if you skim through this, you might find a few good.
You may hear like 2 predictions.
Yeah, but I think that maybe we just what do we think? I guess the score is going to be tomorrow. That's always interesting to kind of finish up. I'll let you start. What do you think? What do you think tomorrow's score looks like?
I think it's going to be 2-0 Inter Miami.
2-0. Okay, so you're close to what I think. I think it's going to be 2-1. I think we'll be the first to score. I think it'll be Messi that scores first, and then and let's see if it can be within the first 10 to 15 minutes, because that would be my hope, is that just settles us down. But I think it's a 2-1. Really tough game, really tough game. Maybe one of those games where it's really efficient. Maybe there was 4 shots.
Right, it's a nail biter.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully no penalties because my heart really can't take penalties. It's just
It's the
exhausting.
regular season, so we won't get any penalties.
Oh, true that. Thank you. Thank you. I think that the PTSD of
I
all
know
these
I
penalties
can't
has
do
just
another
got
penalty
me.
kick. I had to watch my beautiful Tottenham lose their penalties today. I can't talk about penalties. No
Yeah,
one
yeah.
say anything about Tottenham in the comments. I don't want to hear it. I know.
But yeah, so we don't have to deal with penalties, as Ashley pointed out. Thank you for pointing that out. So hopefully it'll be a fun game. Hopefully it'll be a win for us. I'm confident
And a celebration.
and a celebration as well. Something very much earned by the fans and by the team. So I think that Ashley and me agree. 2-0-2-1. Tough game, fun game. But with that, I think we are going to end. We would ask you guys to make sure you follow us on all of our socials on Messi and Co. Follow us on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel so you can catch this podcast via video, and then you can catch the podcast only in audio on Apple and Android. So again, just make sure you follow us. We'll be providing a lot of content for you guys. And tomorrow we'll be providing coverage as well for you for the game. We'll have a live post game right afterwards.
Game.
Yeah, so we'll be doing a lot of that for you. So you'll catch Ashley, myself, probably Austin, and Alejandro will be on, as well as maybe some of the other team will be on as well. So with that, thank you guys. We appreciate all of you.
Are you ready to transform your space into a masterpiece? Introducing Mosaics, your destination for stones and more. Mosaics is a family-owned business serving the community for over 20 years. With the best quality porcelain, ceramic tiles, and high-end mosaics featuring unique modern designs, Mosaics has everything you need. Dedicated customer service, wholesale distributors, and a passion for excellence. Make sure you visit mosaics.com today to turn your vision into a reality.